PHLY Phillies podcast, maybe. You can see us. Can you hear us? Hello. Sorry to be so joyous on a crappy evening, but welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Jamie Lynch, Renee Washington, in with you, reacting live to a gut shot there. There's no other way to describe that one. I have a lot of notes from tonight's game. We'll kind of walk through it and psychiatrist ourselves here. I don't know what my overwhelming driving thought is after that one, other than the bats were asleep and the Phillies didn't capitalize ever. If you allow 2 runs in a playoff baseball game, you should be able to win that game. I can't really finger point on much. We all kind of knew a Craig Kimbrell devastation was due to the Phillies at some point this postseason. I'm glad it came in a 2-0 series lead, I guess, is my optimistic spin on the game. But Renee, I walk away from that one just kind of like, if the bats are going to be like that, you're not going to win any games. So I kind of, Men in Black, what is it, the neuralizer?
Yes.
I neuralize myself if I'm in that locker room. Fresh slate, start tomorrow. Obviously you want some better at-bats from guys, but there's just not a whole lot you can do in a baseball game where the bats don't hit.
Well, I was a little surprised when I heard that the Phillies didn't do their usual pregame routine, didn't do any sort of batting practice prior to the game. And that to me was the first thing I was kind of like,
yeah, in
okay,
that stadium
that's
of
odd.
all places.
Yeah, and also it's your first of 3 games there. Like, I actually would understand if the Phillies didn't have batting practice for game 4 or 5, but it's the first time you're playing there for this series. And so after, you travel and we've been there, you travel, you're setting into a whole new routine. It's a different time zone. It's completely different. Start off with the usual routine that you have. To me, it just kind of sets the tempo from that point on. And then that, by no surprise, once I saw the first 5 innings, first 6 innings, innings are going on, you're scoreless. I was kind of like, okay, this is what we're in store for today. So, bats are definitely struggling, Mickey. I agree with you. I know a lot of you are talking about Kimbrell. We talked on the show in the regular season. I vividly remember us sitting in these same seats having a conversation about Craig Kimbrell and his inability to pay attention to stolen bases and, of course, the pitch clock. And you're facing the Diamondbacks, who are the number 2 team this postseason in stolen bases behind the Phillies. And by no surprise, in a big moment, as Craig Kimbrell takes the mound, 2 stolen bases, and overall just inability to throw strikes. I know you guys are complaining about the umps. Yeah, I complain about that too, but like I always say, it shouldn't get to that point. And I'm going to use the exact same thing I talked about with the Braves, because I don't make excuses. It's the whole team as a whole got to do better. It shouldn't even get to the point where we're relying on Craig and we're relying on, hoping we're going to go into extra innings, because bats were struggling and it was just a very flat game, to be honest.
Very flat. And I know I'm not going to blame the umpire because he didn't have anything to do with their inability to hit the baseball tonight. But Dan Lazonia sucked tonight. Let's just get that out in the open. It's not a reason they lost. Disclaimer. So you can't say I'm blaming the umpire that they lost the game. But my thing with umpires, and I think everybody's thing with umpires, is consistency. And if you're going to call a ball low and inside, a strike on one guy and a ball on another, you're affecting the game in a majorly negative way. And Alec Boehm, the reason I kind of look at Dan Lazonia there, Alec Boehm, inexcusable in the 9th inning. When you get a freebie, because that was a strike that Sewald threw in the upper left or upper right, upper left as you're viewing it, but Boehm's upper right. That was a strike. And you probably in your head, if you're Alec Boehm, knew that was a strike. To not get the bat off your shoulder the next pitch, when you knew he was going to have to throw a strike and you knew anything close, the umpire was going to give a makeup call for, to not get your bat off your shoulder there in 2 situations, with a potential winning run on the base is absolutely brutal. So Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, grounded into a double play that was kind of a momentum killer earlier. Those 2, I know they busted it open a little, or they helped bust it open last game. But those 2 at-bats in particular really stood out to me as bad.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Alec Boehm also was the one we've seen him make this play over and over again at third base, and it flew by him in what inning was that? Seventh inning, eighth inning, to lead to the Diamondbacks scoring run. And that's a play that we've seen from Alec Boehm. And it just to me in big moments, you had, again, it was a great play on the Diamondback side. You can't fault that, but it also, you have to make those plays, and for Craig and Alec, whether for Alec, it was both sides of the ball, because it was that fielding play on third base, but then it was also, you've got Bryce Harper on base. You gotta keep the inning alive. And we've talked a lot about the ability of this team to have guys step up in major moments and find a way to help them win. And today was the day that we didn't do that. You didn't see that. You didn't see Craig didn't step up as a closer. Alec didn't step up to even just keep the inning alive. And that's what the Diamondbacks were able to do. The ninth inning, they were able to just keep the inning alive and just keep getting guys on base and keep getting, whether it's a ball or walking guys. And you got to find ways to grind out those types of a win.
Yeah, welcome in to everybody in the chat. Jay, you're a Braves fan, go still get lost. But Joshua, MBDF, Dave, you get lost. Oh, no, Dave is not.
I don't know, Dave.
No, Dave's a Phillies fan. He's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Scott, everybody, Eugene Krabs, the usual Mickey Durkin, the usual suspects. Thanks for getting on the psychiatrist couch with us tonight and talking this one out. There was somebody that just said, Coach, can you scroll up one little bit to the comment I was looking for? I'll tell you where it is. Oh, Peter F. Need a new closer.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to say need a new closer, but I am surprised that these playoffs, especially with Rob Thompson's comments, and we'll get to Rob Thompson. I actually thought he was pretty spectacular tonight. With his comments before the playoffs, he said he was going to go situationally. He said Craig Kimbrell wasn't penciled into the closer spot. And if you followed Craig Kimbrell in his career, he has a playoff heart attack waiting to happen. Unlike Brad Lidge in 2008, who was also a playoff heart attack, he was able to get out of it every single time, miraculously. Craig Kimbrell, you kind of knew wasn't going to always be able to get out of it. And tonight, when you get your leadoff runners on, they get to play at the plate to throw out stupid purple hair, Gurriel. And you kind of thought like, oh man, is the miracle coming? And no, it didn't come. That's what she said.
Oh no.
But Craig Kimbrell, you kind of knew.
Coach would chuckle too.
Tyler
doesn't entertain your stuff as much. You and Coach together are like, thank goodness Julia's here.
Somebody
otherwise,
me.
My Lord.
But you knew, you just kind of knew the Kimbrell burn was coming at some point.
Yeah.
And tonight was the night. It sucks because there's nothing you can do about it. But I am shocked that he's gotten pretty much every ninth inning situation here. I guess, just checking my text chains and the chatter amongst friends is some people are questioning bringing in Orion Kerkering in the seventh inning there. I personally didn't have a problem with it because I don't want to say it's not a high leverage situation there coming in the seventh with no outs, but if you wanted to save Alvarado for your highest leverage situation, Hoffman had already been used. The kid had been lights out. And I was kind of okay going Kerkering there. I didn't really have a problem with it at all. Some of my friends are saying, how can you go to a kid there? And I was like, well, the kid's been nasty.
Yeah.
He's pretty much been scoreless since he's come up. So I didn't really have a huge problem with that one. I think that's kind of viewing the situation, hindsight being 2020.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a couple things there. I think the hardest part is for the Phillies to come off of a historic game. I didn't even realize, but they became the first team to score double-digit runs and shut out their opponent in the playoffs since the Royals in Game 6 of 2014 in the World Series in their performance in Game 2. And then today to come out and be so flat, it's kind of like, how did we get here? I knew it was going to happen once I saw the Astros and Rangers Game 3. Once I saw the Astros win Game 3, I was like, I feel like the same thing's going to happen with the Phillies Diamondback series. And then to see the fact that, as I talked about, they didn't do batting practice for the game. It was like all these things were slowly trickling together. And it was like watching, slowly watching a car accident happening and you can't stop it.
Let's talk about that because that is weird. So Chase Field, for those that don't know it, there's a roof. Sometimes they have it open.
Yeah, and that's the other part.
But tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, at 2:00 start out there, you're going to be dealing with shadows, natural light, a mix of the roof. I think to not have batting practice was a straight up weirdo decision.
Well, here's the other part of this. So you didn't have a game yesterday. Today's game is 5:07 start Eastern time, which is
2:07.
3:07 because they're only 2 hours behind right now. 3:07, but regardless, that's a very early time. The majority of games right now have been 6:00 at the earliest. You're also coming off of traveling. Yes, you played Tuesday night, then you travel, and you haven't had a day to really fully get into your normal game routine. That's why, in my opinion, it would have made sense to not have batting practice for game 4, not game 3.
That is kind of strange.
Baseball is such a routine sport, and as a former athlete myself, it's like you always have the same things you do. Your pregame meals, your walkthroughs, like it's always the same stuff. So I don't understand why.
I wonder what the thinking was.
Yeah, I don't understand, and I would love to ask. I don't understand why not.
I'm sure it'll be asked in the post game here, and if we see it on Twitter, we'll share the answer.
Definitely, but it also is like you come off of a great game. Let's not. I just sometimes feel like, as human nature is, typically coaches or players, we overthink things. And I don't know if it's coming off of a 10-0 victory and it's kind of like, things are great, let me give you some extra time to rest.
Probably just that.
But you don't need extra time to rest. You need to be locked in and focused on your usual routine. There's no reason to rest or switch things up at this point. And that, to me, is where things all started wrong. But to your point about Orion, which is actually what I was getting to, I was fine with Orion in that moment because I think what happens is with the young athletes, it's always, why did you trust the kid in that moment when they make a mistake? But when they do something fantastic, it's like, oh, that kid did something out of this world. It can't be both. If he's able to take the mound like everybody else in the bullpen, his age doesn't matter at this point. He's out there, you're trusting him in big moments. That means it doesn't matter if he's 20 years old or 30 years old or 40 years old. You've got to trust him, and he's got to find a way to make plays. And they give up 3 hits with all 3 at-bats. It was the right decision to pull him, but I didn't have an issue with putting him out there because also Rob has notoriously been, whether it's strategic matchups for pitching matchups for lefty-righties or just getting guys reps, he has been going quickly with that middle, the relievers from the second to third reliever that he's brought in.
Yeah, R.C. Burroughs said, I would have gone Hoffman. Don't forget, Hoffman came in the 6th.
Yeah, Hoffman, yeah.
So exactly. He wasn't available to come in the 7th there. I thought that was a decent spot to ease the kid in. But yeah, just an overall look. It's a different stadium. I know they've played in it before, but you saw it kind of with Rojas there in the center field play. Mm-hmm. That's a play I would think 9 out of 10 times he probably makes there. And that had to do with, that would have been in the weeds at Citizens Bank Park. So that was another like field adjustment kind of play there.
And you could see the sun coming through randomly.
Yeah, there were shadows out there. But you saw Rojas on that play, like putting his arm up to brace for the wall. And he was still like 3 feet away. So look, ultimately, I don't think the sky is falling. I think that's a game where the bats didn't come to life. And I don't expect that to be a thing that happens again.
And like somebody said in the chat, Martian Lynch, 13 strikeouts, and Brandon Pfaadt had 9 career high 9 strikeouts.
What
and
the
give up
hell
2 hits.
Was that?
I mean, it just you can't. At the end of the day, you cannot win games if you're not scoring. And the lone run comes off of a wild pitch. It's not good enough. So yes, you can talk about whether or not to bring Orion in the 7th or Craig being more aware for stolen bases, but you score 1 run off of a wild pitch. With the way that this team has led the postseason with home runs, has been so fantastic, coming off of 10 runs to 1 barely scored run. So it starts there. You have to find a way to hit the ball. You've got to get hits, and having 3 total hits, 13 strikeouts, 3 total hits is unacceptable.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
I mean, Pfaadt was in the zone tonight. I mean, I can't give all that ineptitude just to the Phillies. The kid had his career game.
He definitely did.
Part of it might be the travel. Part of it might be the stadium. Part of it might not be batting practice. Part of it might be your bats have been so hot now for 8 games of the playoffs that the nature and the law of balance has said you're going to come back to earth at some point. Look, the kid was great. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's a kid that, as we talked about earlier today, had only gone into the 6th inning 4 times the entire season. He typically was like a 4-inning pitcher for them, and he had a ton of strikeouts. He was buzzing. Part of that is Phillies, part of that is him. But also the shame of it is that lost in this game was that Ranger Suarez was effing spectacular again. Ranger Suarez now, this is a wild stat courtesy of Paul Casella from MLB.
Yes, I saw this.
The best ERA in postseason history with a minimum of 5 starts. Ranger Suarez is first with a .94 ERA.
Whew.
Second, again, this guy named Sandy Koufax, .95. And third, Christy Matheson at 1.06. So Ranger Suarez joins other Phillies this postseason in joining elite company in the history of the game. And it's a shame they weren't able to get the win, because prior to this, they were 7-0 in games he pitched in the postseason the last 2 years. He was great. And, that's a silver lining in this, is that, again, you have extreme confidence in Ranger whenever he's required to pitch again. The guy was great.
Yeah. I mean, this is NLDS Game 2 Zach Wheeler all over again, it feels like, where we were having the same sort of frustration after that game because Zach Wheeler had a historic performance at the mound, and the Phillies, of course, lost that one as well with some late mistakes and errors. And Ranger Suarez with 7 strikeouts in his innings pitched, no runs, obviously, held them scoreless. So it ended up being a pitcher's duel, which we didn't expect at all.
No, not at all.
We were not coming into this game predicting it was going to come down to, 1 run being the difference. And Ranger was fantastic today. So you have to tip your hat to the fact that Ranger is still danger. I agree with you, Mickey. Danger Ranger, Eugene Krabs. Like, he absolutely was fantastic tonight in holding the Diamondbacks scoreless. And it took, in total, it was 14 innings this series before the Diamondbacks were able to score again. Remarkable stat when you think about how well the bullpen's been pitching. But now you're having this conversation of, should you have gone with Orion? Should you have gone with Craig? 14 innings that the Phillies bullpen held the Diamondbacks scoreless is remarkable.
Yeah.
But it's just a shame that it now all gets overlooked because it's a game you lose. But at the end of the day, I'm not panicking. I know you're not panicking. A lot of you in the chat aren't panicking because a sweep is really hard to do at this level.
Yeah.
At this point of the postseason,
ask the Texas Rangers.
It's really hard to sweep a team in the NLCS, ALCS, because it's just, this is it. This is the best of the best. And they're going to squeeze out 1 victory. I expected it to go 5. Originally, I was saying 6, and I was saying 5. A sweep would have been nice because we'd have our Saturdays, guys. But here we are. Still a chance, obviously, to still close it out by Saturday.
Yeah, and I see people in the chat talking about, who's the Game 4 starter. Looks like Christopher Sanchez is going to start tomorrow
Finally.
night. So he gets the nod over Taijuan Walker. Now, I would imagine that either Michael Lorenzen or Taijuan Walker are kind of tied to him as that middle relief type of guy in case Sanchez struggles. Interesting decision to go with Sanchez. One I agree with. I think Walker was absolute gasoline on a fire the last 6 weeks of the season. And now he's been off for, at least 2 weeks. Sanchez has also been off for 2 weeks, but I have more confidence going with Christopher Sanchez than I do Taijuan Walker right now. So I think that's the right decision. We'll see. The Diamondbacks are undecided on who they're going to go with as of right now. If that gets updated during this, I will clearly update you all. But
yeah,
Christopher Sanchez looks like the guy we turn our hopes and prayers to.
I am happy to finally see Christopher Sanchez's name in the mix because I've been wanting to see Christopher Sanchez pitch. I mean, we haven't had to put him out there to start, but it's been since September 30th. If I know you guys are wondering, we obviously haven't seen him this postseason. Christopher Sanchez hasn't gotten the start since September 30th against the Mets. And it's overdue. It's time. I think it's a great decision.
Well, that one wasn't actually a start. That was a relief appearance.
Oh, that is correct. I'm
So
sorry.
he only came in for one inning there.
But he did
prior
start
to
the
that,
24th.
the first start was September 24th.
Yes. So even further back. And he did pitch 7 innings on the 24th. But yeah, it's been since September 24th. And if you notice on your calendar, it is already October 19th. So nearly a month since Sanchez actually started. But he did come in for an inning against the Mets on the 30th. But it's Sanchez, I know MBDBDBF is saying you like
you do that really well.
I know. I honestly enjoy saying it now. It's really weird. But MBDBDBF is saying you like his peripheral stats. I think Sanchez is a solid pitcher. And I love the fact that we can sit here in the postseason game and say who's going to be pitching next for the Phillies. Whereas with the Diamondbacks, it's a lot of question marks because the depth of this bullpen is Ranger had a great start today. Okay, some hiccups with Orion and Craig, but we know who's next. We know who's got up next to start things off. Game 4, it's Christopher Sanchez, should be the one to get the call without a doubt. And it's a great next pitcher to help get a victory and get one step closer to winning this series. Close this thing out.
Yeah, no, I feel really good about Christopher Sanchez.
Feel good about Ranger too, though.
I don't want to forget about Ranger, but I feel great about Christopher Sanchez starting tomorrow night. But Ranger was spectacular this season.
Not on Tine, Martian. I love that.
So if you go by the Diamondbacks' normal rotation of this season, it's going to be Ryan Nelson. I don't know if they have another guy in the bullpen that they use in the middle relief spot that I think is under consideration. His name is escaping me right now. There's a lot of nerds in the chat supporting other teams. Is that a Diamondbacks fan, Jay? Like, go join the PHNX is doing a show. You can go hop in with Sexy Voice Guy, our buddy Derek.
Wait,
and go enjoy your win. Why are you in a losing team?
Y'all spend all your money to keep us out of our stadium. If the tickets were available to purchase for the Phillies fans, is it our fault or yours? I don't understand whose fault it is. If you try to go to a Citizens Bank Park game at any time and you try to buy tickets, and actually we can speak from experience. I know a buddy of ours that's in the chat, Mickey Durkin, was saying as of Tuesday, couldn't even get into the game Tuesday because there were no tickets available. You rarely will be able to come into Philly, fly in, and buy a ticket or even buy tickets a couple days in advance because there are not tickets typically available. So I don't know if it says a lot about us as Philly fans or if it says a lot about you as Diamondback fans.
Yeah, it's like that.
So many Phillies were there that it looked like still a home game.
It's like that DJ Khaled meme. Congratulations, you played yourself. And that's what Diamondbacks fans are doing. But you played yourself. Like, if you're going to complain about that, then don't make tickets available for $9 a ticket. Pretty simple. Like, you caused that situation.
How much did you pay for your ticket, buddy? I'm curious.
Yeah,
let us know in the chat.
Start planning your vacation.
There is an Arizona live stream, by the way. Our family at PHNX Diamondbacks has their own stream for all of you Diamondbacks fans. But we enjoy having you here, too, to talk junk because we like trash talking, too. But it is interesting that typical fans, you get one measly win. One measly when you squeeze out, and all of a sudden, here's the Diamondbacks. We thought we cut you off at the head. Here you are coming back, and now all of a sudden, the Diamondbacks fans have slithered their way into our chat and talking junk because you feel like you have a reason to send us out of the ballpark. I mean,
I can't imagine not enjoying my team's victory with fellow fans and going into the opposition.
Like when we get excited after game 1, game 2. We're all talking as Phillies about the game. We're not jumping into anything with the Diamondbacks.
That's straight weirdo behavior. And if you guys want to be in here, at least do us that favor and hit that like button a little bit for me, would you? But yes, it looks like I would assume Ryan Nelson is going to get the start for the Diamondbacks tomorrow versus Sanchez. He'll be handcuffed to somebody. It should be advantage Phillies. I mean, Ryan Nelson's a guy that has a 5.3 ERA and a 1.42 WHIP, which is very similar numbers to Fought tonight. So if you were to ask me, are two guys with a north of 5 ERA and a 1.4 WHIP going to get this Phillies team twice in a row? I would say absolutely fucking not. So I'm not worried about the Phillies bats tomorrow night. Back to the 8 o'clock start tomorrow. the bats will get off the shoulder. They'll produce some hits. They're not going to get struck out, 8 or 9 times by a starting pitcher with those numbers again. I just know that.
Yeah.
I can't prove that, honestly. And if they go out there and get shut out again, then you just go, well, baseball's weird, and there's not much we can do about it.
Without a doubt, I just think that you sometimes need these moments as athletes and this even as a team as a whole to reset. It was game 2 against the Braves. For all of you Braves fans that are in the chat, I'm sure you vividly remember game 2, your lone victory of that series where you felt like you won the World Series with that one. Because I agree with you, Brandon B. The Braves fans are still hurting a little bit in the chat. But
Larry Jones, that's a lie. Phillies fans did not flood any Braves stream. You guys probably don't even have a Braves stream down there. It's probably a Georgia Bulldogs chat room,
which is actually the Georgia Bulldogs Eagles.
Yeah, and nobody from Philly joined that chat room. We're actual fans.
That's definitely cap, Brandon. I agree. That's cap, Larry. You're capping over here.
Yeah.
But it is every once in a while okay to have those moments because it's such a long postseason. The goals are not just to beat the Marlins, the Braves, the Diamondbacks. It's to win it all. It's to beat everybody that the Phillies face. So to have a game like today where you're just flat, and it's similar to what I talked about, the 2 innings that we saw against the Braves that led to them winning that game too. And I keep comparing them because to me, they're very similar types of games. It never felt like the Diamondbacks are outplaying the Phillies. Yes, we can say Falt had a tremendous game, a career game, a game that honestly
it was his career game.
It was his game. This was the night that if you're Brandon Falt, you're kind of telling your kids and your grandkids about this for many years to come.
Oh yeah, he requested the DVD after the game from the staff.
But overall, this is not a game that's a situation where the Phillies were just outplayed, outmatched, and did bad in that sense. It was the Phillies just flat, couldn't hit. I mean, again, 3 hits all game is. When does that happen? Or the fact that you have so many strikeouts. So it's not something that you're hitting the panic button on, but it is interesting to see how the other side, the other fan bases automatically look at a game like this and are like, it's over. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are back. They've got their swagger back. I'm looking at Twitter answer backs as they're calling them. Like, what? Because you won 1 game in a series? Let's see you try to win 2, 3, 4 games, and then we can have an answer backs conversation. But 1 game's not enough to go sail off to the moon with.
Yeah, the Texas Rangers were playing pretty well, and the Houston Astros are already up 3-0 tonight. So it's baseball playoffs. Nothing's ever going to be easy. I still feel great about the Phillies, and we'll check the series odds on DraftKings in a little bit and see where that's at. But things are heating up in the ballpark, and every team is playing to finish the year and make it into the playoffs. With DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the baseball action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets by betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers, use that code down the bottom, PHLY, can take a crack at a sweet payday with DraftKings same-game parlays. Just string together multiple bets like Brandon fought and 8+ strikeouts. You probably would have gotten great odds on that tonight. Put it together in a single game for your shot at a major payout. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code PHLY. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets by betting just $5 on baseball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccp.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, licensee partner, Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, 21+ age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario, as everyone knows. See DKNG.com/baseball for eligibility terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. You want to walk through my game notes and just kind of relive this and talk it out?
I'm bummed that you didn't let me time you, actually.
I'm not in a winning mood.
Yeah, but it's still the playoffs. We still have to do our part. Somebody also said I'm not in a batting practice mood, and look how that played out.
Yeah, I hope somebody asks him about that.
I need to know. I need answers. If somebody knows
other than the trying, And by the way, Phoenix is 3 hours. I was thinking it was 2.
Well, it doesn't change time zones. Do you know that?
Yeah, they don't recognize daylight savings.
So I think right now
it's 3 right now. I Googled it.
Okay.
But either way.
It's early. It's not nighttime.
The only reasoning I can kind of muster up here is that Rob Thompson just gave them time to kind of relax and get their body, maybe sleep in a little bit longer.
You had off yesterday. What do you need to relax more for? You had
I think
a whole
they just
day
left
off.
yesterday, so maybe he let them sleep in or take a nap.
Sleep when you win the World Series. Try again. That's next.
Yeah, I know. That's all I got though. Other than that,
what you got next?
Other than that, I got nothing.
I mean, I've just been on that side as an athlete. You do not stray from what your normal routine is. Whatever your routine is, you stick by it, especially in the playoffs. We're not talking about the regular season. We're talking playoffs, not regular season. You don't go changing up. Who doesn't have batting practice? It's your first game in this ballpark. We're not at Citizens Bank Park anymore. You're now at Chase Field. It's the first game of this series at this field. You have guys like Johan Rojas who have never played at Chase Field. If you traveled yesterday, because I'm assuming with a late game Tuesday night, the Phillies traveled yesterday. So now if I'm Rob, if anything, you need to have batting practice. Get your arms going, because it looked like they were still asleep throughout the entire game. Get your arms going, get your legs moving, get a nice your heart rate racing, and you get going. But if anything, that's more reason to have batting practice. That's more reason to do your usual pregame routine and warm up, because you traveled yesterday. It's a 3-hour time difference. It's a different weird wonky field with all types of odd sunlight coming in, because it's also daytime and not nighttime. So do the little things, control the controllables, have batting practice. The bats were non-existent today. And the crazy thing is, we talked about hot bats, 10 runs, couldn't miss, hitting the first pitch, out of the ballpark. And then today, couldn't hit anything.
Yeah, Chris Milano says get Bohm out of the 4-hole.
I do have that written down also.
I tend to agree. I would move JT up personally, and I would probably put Castellanos. I know he didn't look great tonight, but he's had a historic playoffs. I'd probably move him up to the 5 and put Bohm at the 6 and maybe Stott at the 7 or whatever. I'm shooting from the hip here. Something of that variety. If you want to stagger Stott because of the lefty, somewhere in between. I agree. Bohm is just not a 4-hole hitter right now. He's come up in too many big spots these playoffs. And I knew he got in the game previous, he got the hit late, which, was a big double for him and all that. Yeah. But he's killing you. And that at-bat tonight sucked.
Yeah.
I don't want to crucify the dude because
it sucked.
He was your best hitter with runners in scoring position throughout the year. He had a great year, 100-plus RBIs, all that. But you can't strike out there with the –
yeah.
You can strike out there. Just don't do it with the bat on your shoulder at 2 strike threes.
Yeah.
1 you got lucky with. The second, just you can't let that happen. You got to go down swinging.
Well, before I jump in on Bohm, I know Larry, our Braves fan, one of the handful of Braves fans that are in the chat inside
there. What the hell's
apparently we attract Braves fans here.
If
JD.
we lost to the Braves, I cannot imagine a week later going into a Braves chat and being
they're all actively rooting against the Phillies now.
Well, yeah, but they still lost.
But I still don't understand why
they're done. They're not playing baseball.
I don't either. So the thing that Larry was saying was
hit that like button first.
Yeah, hit the like button on your way out the door. Just kidding, but not kidding. Larry was saying we can make the excuse about not having batting practice, but they can't make the excuse about being 10 days off. And I think
I don't think it's an excuse. I just think it's weird.
One major difference is the team chose to do that. You can't make the excuse of 10 days off, because when the season started, everybody knew whoever gets to the playoffs and is the top seed is going to have a bye in the first round and would have a break. That's the league making that rule. But to have an internal decision, I don't think the league had the rule of no batting practice. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it was the Phillies' decision. It's the Phillies deciding not to do what they need to do. And so that's my issue with it. I'm not even saying it's just the batting practice, because at the end of the day, at some point, you got to get it going. You have to figure it out. So yes, it's one of the few things that are just odd to me. It doesn't really make sense. But it's definitely something, it's a controllable. Having 10 days off, not a controllable. deciding not to do batting practice a controllable. So you've got to control the controllables when you get into scenarios, especially like this.
In other words, what she's saying, Jay Flo in the chat, is shut the hell up. I saw some of the chat talking about this bet tonight, and I do just want to share it because it's absolutely insane. I don't know if you caught this or not.
I missed it.
But a guy laid a bet. He laid $140 and got plus 73,562 odds. He bet Brandon Pfaadt 8+ strikeouts.
I did see that.
Which is bonkers to lay $140 on that. Plus Ranger Suarez 7+ strikeouts. $140 paid out $103,127.21. So this guy's obviously a sicko. He probably makes, large sum bets, because to me, 140 is like, that's
a risky bet.
Because this is like kind of a throwaway bet. Brandon Pfaadt had never really gotten into the sixth inning much this year, let alone struck out a lot of people. So this guy took a wild swing tonight and got $103,000 on a $140 bet because of just strikeouts.
Wow.
That is bonkers. Congrats to you, sir.
And I remember pregame when I was looking at DraftKings and I saw the money lines and I saw everything. And I remember seeing that one thinking like, wow, that's a really high number. And it's 8.5 is rare.
Because he's never done it.
And he got 9 and he's never done that. That's a career high. And you can actually look across Major League Baseball postseason history of how many pitchers have had more than 9 strikeouts. In a game.
Is he Zach Wheeler all of a sudden?
Yeah, he just became Zach Wheeler tonight when you place that bet. Meanwhile, if one of us placed that bet, he'd have whatever we bet would be the complete opposite. So it is insane that you, first of all, as you mentioned, $140. I always believe you're supposed to bet something you're
comfortable losing. So maybe that person's fine.
You know what? To be honest, maybe he's comfortable losing $140, but it worked out in a big way.
So I'm just looking at his game log for
Rochelle
this year.
said, imagine all the overalls he can buy now.
So this year he got to 8 strikeouts 3 times. So it's not that he's incapable of it, but it is.
Wow.
In 96 innings pitched this year, he got to 8 strikeouts 3 times. So kudos to that guy putting him on the line.
What made you decide to do that? Especially coming off of the fact that the
Phillies were mashing.
1-10-0, and you're going to put a bet like that. That is.
John Hayer says that dude needs a wheelbarrow for his balls.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, he's Randy Marsh. He needs a big old wheelbarrow to carry those things around town.
That's some cojones for sure, because you are now you're betting against the Phillies, who had just put up 10 in the previous game, expecting to get over 8.5, and it pays off. Shout out to that guy. Shout out to that guy.
So what are you paying in taxes right off the top there? Probably roughly.
I don't know how that works.
Close to 40,000. So you're probably walking away with like 60 to 65 in straight profit from a $140 bet.
Well, if you were to win a bet like that and walk away with all that money and you wanted to buy some merchandise, you can head on over to FOCO, because that is a place you can spend all the money that you win on the bets that you land. And FOCO has the overalls, the bobbleheads, collectibles, banners, you name it. You can support and rep your favorite teams at FOCO, and you can use that code PHLY for 10% off. Even if you're not a Philly sports fan, you could technically still use that code to get 10% off. But either way, go head over, support your favorite teams, get a nice discount, and use that code PHLY at FOCO. Well, you guys in the chat are all over the place today.
Oh, Mickey, our financial guy, said $23K. So he's walking away with 83,000 or 80,000
after spending 140. I'll take that any day, every day. That's a nice, easy money. Wow, there's definitely some serious trash talking going on in the chat. I like trash talking. Keep it going.
Energy.
I'm enjoying watching this trash talk, and you guys just keep going back and forth about the Phillies are scared of the Astros, and the Braves own the Astros, and the Phillies are scared of the Braves. I don't even know anymore.
Nobody's scared of anybody. They're professional baseball players. Nobody's scared. All right. Jesus.
Yeah. You know what?
Nobody's shaking in their boots. Nobody's peeing their pants. Nobody's scared. They're going to go out tomorrow and they're going to mash baseballs like this slutty himbo team that they are. All right. Nobody's scared.
Bloody himbo. Oh Lord. Yeah, it's, you know what? It's definitely not a fear thing. And it's also, I think the difference is like coming for us into this show today, we're just explaining the things that we feel like the Phillies did wrong. There's also a difference between like excuses and whining versus like being realistic. And the Phillies played like crap today, and the Phillies didn't deserve to win. But also, you could argue the same thing about the Diamondbacks because they didn't play as great either. It was like a matter of who can squeeze out a run last, and it was the Diamondbacks today. It was definitely coach is coming for you, Larry, with the comments. It was definitely a very odd game coming off of a 10-0 victory Tuesday night. So I think that was just the biggest thing that like all of this was unexpected. But I also did see a stat that was put out, and Todd Zalecki tweeted this out after Bryce Harper's first 8 pitches at bat. The tweet said that Bryce had seen 8 pitches at bat. Not a single one was in the zone. He's seen only 1 pitch in the zone out of 13 total in 3 at bats. I'm sorry, 8 pitches and 3 at bats.
I was actually having this conversation earlier with a buddy. Not that they were ever going to put him on base intentionally.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised it took teams this long to stop throwing them like hittable strikes. You know, you don't want to obviously concede a free base runner in the playoffs, but I am surprised it took this long for a team to stop giving them something to mash.
Right.
So that makes sense tonight. You know, kudos to the Diamondbacks pitching coach for coming up with that game plan with Brandon Pfaadt. So, you know, sometimes you got to tip your hat to the other team, and that's a good job by them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Bryce Harper's in the zone. Why would you give him anything to hit?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's smart. It's tactics. And when you see Bryce Harper continuing to hit homers, and this team as a whole, 19 home runs, I believe was the last number I saw in the first 8 games. You can't just continue. You gotta change something up. It's insanity to continue to do the same thing over and over again, and it have bad results and you not make a change. And if you're the Diamondbacks and you've been watching the last 2 series for the Phillies, you're going to come into this series and make an adjustment. That's what you're expected to do. And they've been great on first pitches. They've been great on home runs. And the Diamondbacks today, behind Mr. Pfaadt, made a change, and it paid off for them. But I don't expect it to be something where it's going to continue, because with the Phillies losing, it now means Rob Thompson and the Phillies also go back to the drawing board. So the Diamondbacks aren't the only ones making adjustments, guys. Newsflash. It's also the Phillies going to make some adjustments. And I would definitely not expect the same type of performance in Game 4 that we saw from the Phillies in Game 3. There's no way you're going to have the same lack of hitting, the same pitching blunders down the stretch. It's going to be tweaked. But it's, you know, kudos to the Diamondbacks for making an adjustment, watching film, paying attention, and implementing changes that actually paid off.
Yeah, Diamondbacks fans getting real chesty in the chat room. No way this backfires on you guys. It's just one game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy moly! I just see the floods.
Yeah, they've flooded in here. I don't know if our sister station PHNX told people to come this way or what, but thanks for coming in here. Sean, if you could just hit that like button while you're in here, that's fine. Peacock around all you want. I don't think any Philly player is too worried about what transpired tonight.
We also expected at some point, when you score 46 runs in the first 8 games and you've already outscored the Diamondbacks 15-3 in the first 2 games, that the onslaught at some point was going to slow down, because maybe their arms are just tired. You know, maybe for Bryson and Trey, their arms just got a little tired from hitting so many home runs, and they needed a day to just kind of regroup, and then tomorrow we'll be back to hit some more homers against you guys. So yeah, enjoy this moment, because it won't last long, I don't anticipate.
No. So I do want to go through like kind of my game notes, because I do think there was a lot of things like worth noting, but you just brought up Bryce Harper. He's in my notes here, and I think he is the most beautifully chaotic base runner I've ever seen in my life. And the only reason they got 1 run tonight was because Bryce Harper blew through a JT Realmuto stop sign on a pass ball and just said, F it, I'm scoring this run. I know it occasionally bites you in the ass, but his chaotic aggressiveness on the base pass, I absolutely love. That dude wants to win so bad. He will do, and sometimes he's wrong, he will do whatever the hell is within his capability to make a play. And I love him for it. That play tonight I thought was spectacular.
those are the types of plays that make Bryce Harper so great because he's willing to take risks that other people aren't. And he plays aggressive and confident. And that mentality that Bryce Harper has, it really separates you from a lot of other players because not everybody has the confidence to say, I'm going to go when even if Dusty or JT is waving me off, I'm going to go. It doesn't matter. I'm going to trust myself and I'm going to get there and I'm going to make a big play. And as you mentioned, sometimes it doesn't play out right. Game 2 of the NLDS. But most of the time for Bryce, when he takes those risks on swinging at a pitch or running through, stealing base, whatever it is, it does play off. And it's also contagious. The rest of the team feeds off
absolutely.
of that. And that same aggression he brings, you see Trey Turner and stealing bases. You see, you know, other guys feed off of that. So yeah, it's a great point of like the chaotic running of Bryce Harper is like, you know, he's going to do something.
I love it. I know, you know, when he makes a mistake, God forbid, everybody gets up in arms and, oh, he can't do this. Or he's going to keep his second base in front of him. Yeah, well, other times he gets you game-winning runs. Yeah. And you just kind of have to take the minimal bad with the overall good. And that was not your traditional play tonight. And by the way, Sean, who we thought was a Diamondbacks fan in the chat, is actually a Red Sox fan.
What is happening today?
So
you
Sean,
guys are all over the place.
Sean, let me just say this. Your organization is in such a disarray that Sam Fold, our general manager here in Philadelphia, said, nah, I'm good on that job. I'll just stay here in Philadelphia. So that should tell you a career opportunity for somebody. And they said, nah, we good. Red Sox are a dumpster fire. So, you know.
Yeah, Folds Papers, which is I like the name. Folds Papers saying, what kind of life must you have to be a Red Sox fan and trying to find Philly sports talk? Apparently today we have invited everybody, and this has become like a place of all. Oh, no, which comment?
Damon. Now, he's now twice another Diamondbacks fan. Apparently all 3 Diamondbacks fans have found their way in the chat. He said, I was told Philly fans were loud. That game was in Arizona, Damon.
It wasn't in Philly.
The fact that there was probably 25% Phillies fans should tell you all you need to know. Like, you're aware of the area code the game was played in, right?
On the flip side, I definitely remember, and I'm sure you guys have seen by now, the viral video that went out that a reporter was trying to find, I believe it was an Arizona reporter, that was trying to find a Diamondbacks fan to interview at Citizens Bank Park, and chirp, chirp, like you're saying, Damon, crickets.
The game was in Arizona,
The game in Philly, there were no Diamondback fans in attendance. And Jamie and I were there at the ballpark, and I agree. I don't remember seeing anybody from the Diamondbacks at all. It was Mexico for the Mexico-Germany game, and it was all Phillies fans for the Phillies game. There were no Diamondbacks at all. So it is interesting perspective. Like all of a sudden when the narrative, fits you, now it's like, oh, I thought you guys were loud at an away game. Like,
and Jay Flo says, Stubbs's comments about jumping in the hot tub are going to backfire. Jay, that's still very much alive. All they have to do is win Friday and Saturday. Full disclosure, nobody's listening here in the trust tree. I wish the backup catcher didn't say that. I love Garrett Stubbs, and he's the vibes officer of the team and all that.
Not but whisper to the mic.
Maybe let's sit this round of media out, Garrett. Unless you're contributing.
Also, don't join into what the other tomfoolery is that's being said, because how many times have we talked about the chalkboard material that Merrill Kelly and Orlando Arcia and different guys have given the Phillies? Don't go doing on that, Garrett. You're the DJ. You're the hype man. You know what I would love is if you wait until after the Phillies close out
and then go pee in the hot tub.
And then go pee in the hot tub. And then you could admit, I was excited and looking forward to jumping into the baby pools and hot tubs.
Yeah, and then you can tell the press that you peed in there. Yeah. And it's my hot tub now. I own it because I peed in it.
Yeah. I just think it's so interesting to watch baseball or any game sitting in the pool. I don't love that.
It's weird. It's very I've done it in Mexico before, and it's strange.
Yeah, and I'm a big pool person, but it's just like a weird thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get it. Whole other story for another day. I mean, there's a ton of Diamondbacks fans in here. All 4 of you, maybe you can let us know what that's like. I don't get it, but yeah, it's a lot of trash talking, a lot of teams. Oh man. What was it now? Red Sox, Braves, Diamondbacks?
Yeah, Jay Flo saying at least our owner made the game reasonable, unlike your greedy owner. Your greedy owner probably donated too much money to QAnon to, I'm going to leave that one alone, but that's true. You can look it up. And two, it's a demand of how many people want to attend the games, Jay. The owner doesn't really set the prices.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine if Citizens Bank charged $20 to get into the game?
No.
Like, I think the place would explode.
You'd have 6 million ticket requests.
Yeah.
Like people would be driving from out of town and flying in.
And it would still go up because people would buy the tickets and possibly sell them anyways to get more money because you know the value of it. But it's supply and demand. And when you have tickets are selling out like hotcakes, you cannot charge $20 because that's not a great business model. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know any business that's going to sell things for cheap if they've got them flying off the rack. So
I know one. Shady Rays. And right now, I got to tell you about them because I can't wait for my pair to come in. I got a pair.
You already ordered them?
Yeah, you didn't?
No.
We're getting a pair.
Oh.
You got to get in Slack, girl.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh.
Shady Rays is hooking us up. And they're hooking you up right now. 2 pairs plus. And use that code PHLY. And you will get 50% off. Now, my cousin has had Shady Rays forever. And not only do they look awesome, but he's been telling me, like, dude, if you lose these or break them or they scratch or whatever, they replace them, no questions asked. And for its price point, it's the best deal in sunglasses, hands down. I've had some expensive sunglasses in the past. I've lost 2 of them to the Mighty Atlantic over the past couple of years playing with the kids. And I just said, I'm done with it. I'm looking for a more affordable sunglass pair that if I lose, I'm not going to lose sleep over. If I scratch them or break them or whatever, you can get a free pair back. That's how good Shady Rays is. And not only do they have you covered with awesome polarized and non-polarized sunglasses, but they also have you for the ski season. They make awesome, durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor activities. And if you're into those winter sports, I don't know if you're a skier, Renee. I'm trying to get the girls into it at a young age. I used to be, haven't done it as much. But if you're into skiing and snowboarding and all that stuff, they make a quick swap snow lenses, which you can switch easily from sun to low light. Don't let changing light conditions slow you down on the slopes. All you need is Shady Rays snow goggles. And that's not all. I told you, the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of glasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. So it's a minimal, market retail price that you get backed by them for at any time you could lose them. They don't even question you. They just hook you up. You need to get in and get yourself a pair of Shady Rays, Renee, because they're hooking us up here at PHLY. Shady Rays is committed to making a difference in communities across the U.S. through their impact program, teaming up with nonprofits to help people live healthy, courageous lives through some of their most challenging times. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out an amazing deal for the season. And don't forget, Christmas, the holidays, a ton of holidays coming up. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. That's a lot of people. It would take Chase Bank in Arizona like 4 full seasons of baseball to get to that many people.
Boom.
Roasted.
I'm just laughing out also at the chat because it's perfect that you're roasting Chase Field when they're continuing to try to roast Philly. I don't understand.
This is real weirdo behavior by a non-real fan base.
It's such weird. Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm
very
like,
strange.
I'm like, this game was already so weird. Like we were all watching the game. We had ordered our food and it was like, it's already the 6th inning.
It was
already
the
7th inning. Like that game flew by because it was just such a dry, slow, no run scoring game. It's bizarre. But
so let's pick up there because my notes actually say first time this postseason that a game had been scoreless through 5 innings.
That's insane.
Never would have thought Ranger Suarez versus Brandon Pfaadt was the first scoreless game, pitchers duel. But that was a weird start to the game. The Phillies were swinging and missing all over the place. You know, same.
That's what I was. I mean, like, who would have predicted that it'd be a historic?
Apparently,
game?
one guy and he bet it, and it made $100,000.
One person did predict it correctly and walked away with thousands of dollars. But it is insane that it's taken this long. Like the way the postseason has been so far, a lot of games have been lopsided. We've seen a lot of home runs, specifically from the Phillies, and definitely would not have expected that it was going to be a scoreless game through the first 6 innings.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah, that was a weird one. Next note was the ball simply not carrying at Chase Field.
Yeah.
There was a couple I saw off the bat, and part of that is Chase Field is big. But part of that is, I saw Mickey in the chat earlier call it a humidor meant to keep baseballs down. The ball was just kind of like dying out there deep. There was a couple plays by Rojas, even Castellanos. I forget who hit one on the Phillies. Maybe it was Schwarber. But they just seemed to all be like warning track power shots. So it did seem to just kind of not be a hitter's park tonight.
And that's where it also felt like there was just this flat play from the Phillies. It was like everything was like almost there.
Yeah.
Almost
it was like
there,
Raul Ibanez one bloody nil game all over again.
You got it. Ah. It just over and over again. It was just a weird off day. I mean, we talked about on the other side, like the play that Rojas had that definitely stands out where he's like, and it just drops right past him. And Alec Boehm had the one he dives that we've seen him make that catch a lot of times and dives to his right and the ball just squeaks right under. It was just one of those almost types of games that you do not expect to happen the way that it did. But again, it's fine. What's next on here?
That Rojas play you just mentioned, here's a couple advanced analytics on it. Courtesy of our man, Shil Kapadia at the Ringer. He said Moreno's double would have been a home run in 26 of 30 MLB stadiums.
Wow.
So, you got lucky that one was in, you couldn't keep him from scoring. But regardless, also the play before that, Rojas chased down a Corbin Carroll liner. That had an expected batting average of 620. Somehow Alvarado got out of the 8th inning unscathed. The double didn't kill him. But 26 of 30 ballparks, that's a home run. And the play before it has a 620 expecting batting average. So credit to Rojas for making that one easy. That was a deep, right center field warning track one. He tracked down with ease. I think you even said it at the time. You were like, he made that look easy.
It was like jogging.
And then the next play, unfortunately, he couldn't track down. But I think that was just the depth perception, gauging the wall. That's probably a play he makes 9 out of 10 times. So pretty wild stats on that one. The next note I have is Jeff Hoffman. He came in a high leverage spot, bailing out Ranger, who was spectacular, and Hoffman was awesome again tonight. Last time we saw him, he kind of allowed a couple runs, didn't look like his normal self. He was, forgot all about it, back to normal Hoffman tonight, and that was a really good thing to see.
Definitely. And I mean, I love Jeff Hoffman's story and the fact that he's with the Phillies. You look at how he got here and having a minor league contract and deciding to play here instead of going to Japan. I know we were talking about it before the game, before the show, excuse me. You love those moments that you take a risk and it pays off. And he's really stepped up and been one of the more consistent pitchers for the Phillies that you can count on to step in key moments. And, it's a shame he got yanked pretty early. I kind of felt like I would have liked to see him a little bit longer, but I know Rob has his matchups and strategic reasoning for lefty, righty, and everything else like that, and decided to go with Ryan instead. But that's probably something in that moment that I know we were talking about earlier, obviously, and people were commenting on not going to Ryan the 7th. I wouldn't mind keeping Hoffman out there longer.
Yeah, Rob's been going with this kind of, one inning and not really working too many guys too hard. Alvarado is an interesting one to keep an eye on tomorrow. I would assume he's at least available for an inning, but he did go an inning plus tonight, which was kind of, rare for him. But I thought Rob Thompson was spectacular. He's actually next up on my chronological game notes here.
Getting out of pocket in the chat, by the way, just to jump in. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, and I saw somebody super boost chat comment earlier. I meant to get to you, and I forgot, and I hate myself for it.
I think I did see that too. Also,
yeah, I wrote it down.
I didn't know you could do that actually.
Yeah, you can pay money in the chat if you want to get something right to the front of the line, and we'll definitely highlight them. going forward. I missed that one, and I apologize. I'll make it up to you.
It's one of our usual suspects, too,
Yeah,
actually.
it was. So apologies there. But Rob Thompson, I have as my next note. Great decision to bunt with Bohm. The announcers talked about it. The Diamondbacks didn't expect it, and great time to pull out a bunt. Apparently, bunting is a lost art in Major League Baseball, and I thought that was a beautiful, unexpected time to bunt and move a runner ahead. And I thought that was one of the many minor imprints Rob had on the game tonight that worked out really well.
Especially since we on the show have talked about the decision not to bunt in some moments. And so, yeah, I mean, there's small victories that we could take from a day like today. There's definitely some that you wish you could have back. But overall, there were some decisions, and I know somebody said it earlier, it came down to the hitting. Like when you really look at the game closely, from Rangers, how he pitched, to bunting, like there were some small moments that you should have won the game with that type of a decision or play, but it was, can't score runs, then Craig
That's
and
where
Orion.
silent. You're not going to win many games when you score one run and it comes on a pass ball.
No.
They were kind of lucky. If it wasn't for Ranger Suarez and Hoffman and Alvarado, you're not even in the game. So,
right.
You needed a lot to go right to even be in it.
These are also the two highest scoring teams in the postseason in terms of home runs. They've both been scoring coming into this series way more than anybody else that was still remaining in the LCS. And so you expect this series as a whole to be a lot of high scoring games, but you're not going to win a game with just one run, and especially one run off of a fluke wild pitch. You've got to be able to score. It's plain and simple.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, my notes, Kirkering comes in after Hoffman, who was great. Now, Alvarado comes in after him, and this is another Rob Thompson thumbprint on the game that, frankly, you don't see very often, if ever, in baseball. It was the 6-4-3 double play that Alvarado got. Now, Rob Thompson called the defense in, and they basically played in, which led to the Gurriel out at home plate. But it also led to the 6-4-3 double play that Alvarado got with a man on third and no outs. So here's the stat courtesy of Paul Casella from Major League Baseball. The 6-4-3 double play was the 46th ground into double play with runners on the corners and nobody out in Major League Baseball postseason history. Of the previous 45. And this is why, when this happened, I was like, they're going to win this game, because this doesn't happen.
Right.
Of the 45 previous plays, a run had scored 42 times. The second out was made at home the other 3 times. In other words, that's the first one ever in Major League Baseball postseason history where the runner stayed at third. That is unbelievable. The manager almost won you a game by a simple decision to have the defense in there. Trey Turner, Bryson Stott turned in an incredible double play. Alvarado got the ground ball. But I really started to believe then in that moment, damn, they just did something that doesn't happen. They're going to win this game.
Well, shout out to Trey Turner for the simple decision to look at third first, freeze them, and then throw it to second to Bryson. I mean, just a heads up play all around. That is much like Ranger Suarez pitching performance is going to unfortunately get overlooked because of the loss. So is a play like that. That's a highlight play.
That's unbelievable.
As you talk about, that's unbelievable.
Literally.
It does not happen. And in that moment, we are all feeling confident, oh, okay. In sports, sometimes you just need that one play that changes things
and that's what I thought it was.
You going. And you felt like that was going to ignite things a little bit. So it's a shame it's going to get overlooked. But I will say, similar to what we talked about I keep going back to that game too against the Braves, because I know in the chat you guys are still going boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo-hoo. This is exactly what we felt after the game against the Braves, the lone loss to the Braves. It was the punch in the face, as Nick Castellanos spoke about, that you need every once in a while. And we see how the Phillies responded after that loss. This is a hiccup.
They love it when they get punched.
They love it when they get punched. I mean, this team thrives with adversity and being counted out, and the naysayers and the trash talking. The more these types of comments that we're seeing in the chat are being tweeted about and posted about, the more you're fueling the Phillies fire. These guys love these types of things. And unfortunately, I almost feel like that in itself is a big part of They took their foot off the gas. You come off a 10-0 win. It's hard to go into the next game not feeling yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
You make a historic win like that, holding a team scoreless, putting up 10 runs, 8 of them between 2 innings. It's hard to go into the next game with that same level of motivation and just like playing on the front foot, so to speak. If you kind of expect a drop off after that, and not take them lightly in that sense, but get a little bit complacent. So as Nick Castellanos talked about last series, it's the punch in the face, the wake up call, and it definitely is a moment where you now will have a lot of these major plays that we've seen tonight lead to another victory versus them being overshadowed by a crappy 2-1 loss.
Yeah, there was a lot of good in tonight's game. It's not, excusing the loss. Obviously, everybody would have loved to have been up 3-0. But as you said earlier, sweeps are hard in baseball. Go ask the Texas Rangers about that, as they are, let me see here if my ESPN will update. They were already down 3-0, is now 3-2. So Texas making a game of it.
Interesting.
As Houston is up 3-2 in the bottom of the third. Rest of the notes here I have. Boom. Can't take 2 strike threes there. That's just inexcusable. Craig Kimbrell then came on and gave us all a heart attack. And we've all expected it. We've all known it was coming. He wasn't going to go perfect. He is not Brad Lidge. He is a heart attack waiting to occasionally happen as a heart attack and not just a scare. And it happened tonight. And I do think of like all the spots, because it wasn't a blown save. He was trying to hold the tie. It doesn't feel quite as bad. If he blew a save in, let's say it's 2-2 in game 5 and he blows a save, we'd all be like drinking bleach. But
ew. No, we would not.
It's not like Gatorade. It's not supposed to taste good.
No, but like, no, we would not. If Craig blew it, I'm not. No.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, of all the situations where Kimbrell shits,
drinking bleach, just like
metaphorically.
No, not metaphorically. Don't metaphorically put me in that.
Well,
maybe you all, me all would not.
Of all the situations he could have blown one, I thought tonight was like
Kimbrell throwing
probably the best situation for him to blow one in.
As you drop your emotional support football. Good. I mean, I think the reason why one of the reasons why I wouldn't be drinking bleach in this metaphorical situation is because I'm not surprised. To me, I'd be like reacting
that's
poorly.
What I'm just saying. Like, we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
so
like
spots,
everybody's watching. That's especially if you are a Phillies fan and you've been watching them play. The moment you see Craig Kimbrell warming up, the moment you see the way the game has shaken out and you see him taking the mound, you knew it.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, let's flip it. How many people realistically expected Craig to get us to some extra innings? You did?
I didn't feel great about it.
I didn't feel great about it. I actually had already started typing in my notes about like the last time the Diamondbacks had a walk-off was in...
They've only had 2.
Yeah,
it was Luis
they came in the same year in 2001. Like, I already was doing my like... Marte had a 3-hit afternoon and he had a walk. Well, I didn't know it was going to be Marte, but once I saw he was next, I knew it was going to be Marte because he couldn't miss. I mean, he had 12 straight hits so far. But, I was already kind of tailoring it to, it's going to be a walk-off and it's going to be a loss. But if you expected Craig to somehow extend the game, that's foolish of you. But the only thing not foolish of you is to go to the Game Time app and be able to check out all the things they have there. If you want to buy tickets, and some places have expensive tickets. Some places have much cheaper tickets, Chase Field. But regardless, you can still get $20 off with code PHLY. And the beauty is if you go to a game like the Diamondbacks game at Chase Field to watch them play if you're an Arizona fan or if you're a Philly fan that likes to go out to support your team, with that $20 off, you might actually be making money back. $20 off with your code PHLY could essentially get you a free ticket.
Tickets out there.
You can get a free ticket to go to Chase Field. Ding, ding, ding. So use the Game Time app, code PHLY, to get $20 off your purchase and go to Chase Field for free to watch the Phillies win Game 4 and Game 5. Because I absolutely, without a doubt, it's not a cockiness thing. It's a confidence thing. It's knowing this team and how they operate. It's not an excuse on anything. It's definitely like right now the Diamondback fans are just like in here just talking.
Real weirdo energy.
So weird. But the Phillies fans, I feel like you all understand how this team operates and know like this is a familiar spot we've been in before and the outcome was not good for the bad guys. So, meh. Yeah, we'll see. Ask the Braves. Ask the Braves how this plays out, or the Marlins too. Actually,
Ketel Marte, who's a great player.
Great player. Gotta give you give props where props are due. He's been playing well.
Our sister station, the PHLY Diamondbacks, just retweeted him saying, "We can compete with anybody in this league."
You technically can compete with anybody.
Yeah,
but what is that?
Great quote, bro.
Well, that was also him saying, I just like to help my team win any way I can and step up. At least he was giving all the politically correct answers, I guess, unlike other people that give you
Sounds like he's trying to convince himself.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like we can compete with
with anybody.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I would hope so. You're a freaking professional.
And you're in the NLCS.
Yeah.
I would hope you can compete with anybody.
Those doubts are already answered by now.
I mean, you also
just beat the Dodgers.
Went unbeaten in the first 2 series, and you're in the NLCS for the first time since 2017. I would hope you think you can compete with anybody.
Yeah.
It's just a totally weird.
It's
like that Arizona air out there is totally different. It's a little odd. It's a little off. But yeah, Marte had a great game. So did Fott. Great. But I mean, so did Acuna at one point, and look where he's sitting. So it's at some point you just have to be a little realistic. I feel like we're always very realistic with every take that we have. We're not perfect. You might disagree with us, but we're very realistic at least.
Well,
and saying that at the end of the day, a loss is not the end of the world. And
no. They'll bounce back. I'm not worried about it.
It's not about who wins the battle. It's who wins the war.
Corey Seager just hit a home run and tied Texas up with the Astros. They're all tied up at 3 in the top of the 4th, I believe. Last note in my notepad from the game, JT Real Muto with a real heady play. Our producer Julia's favorite player, to save Craig Kimbrell's dumbass from a pitch clock violation and a free runner on with a full count. How this dude is incapable of paying attention to a pitch clock or a runner on base is it just seems like a purposeful intent by him not to pay attention to these things. Every other pitcher in baseball has adjusted to the pitch clock. Runner on scoring position has always haunted him. But dude, you have to show a willingness to adapt to it. It is a rule of the game. And JT saw the clock winding down and basically called a timeout with a second left and walked out there and goes, "Yeah, dude, I'm saving your ass. You were about to put a guy on for free with a full count." So great job by JT there. Craig Kimbrell, get your head in the game a little bit.
This is all I have to say about this. This is not our first time having this conversation, Jamie. In fact, I'm very much having deja vu.
Just pay attention a little bit.
And I recall, what series would that have been in the regular season? Was it the Braves?
It might have been, yeah.
I think it was against the Braves in the regular season where we were literally having this conversation. And I remember bringing up a quote by Craig Kimbrell saying, I understand it. I know I need to speed up my pitch. I know I need to be more aware.
Well, do it.
But essentially, that's just how I roll. And we were in that moment kind of but that's not okay. And here we are in a costly situation where his lack of awareness to stolen bases, his lack of awareness to the pitch clock, and the need to actually extend the game into extra innings was not going to happen because of it. So I know people were saying, I saw on Twitter people saying if we have to rely on Craig Kimbrell as a closer in, any sort of situation like today and later down in the postseason, we're in some trouble.
Yeah,
we're in some trouble.
I do find that interesting that Rob Thompson before the playoffs said, no, we're going to go by committee and hot hand and this and that. And every opportunity has been Kimbrell so far.
Yeah.
So just something to keep an eye on. Alvarado's workload tomorrow is something to keep an eye on. How much is he able to go? Because he has been absolutely tremendous this postseason. Jose Alvarado is awesome. So all in all, I would say our vibe is that sucks, not worried. Christopher Sanchez, lead us to salvation tomorrow. Fight to see another day. Is another pitcher, if it is Nelson going tomorrow for the Diamondbacks, which is unannounced right now, is another pitcher with a north of 5 ERA and a north of 1.4 whip going to shut down this Phillies offense again? It's probably a cold day in hell if that happens. Yeah. So neither of us are sweating it. It does suck. I was hoping to have Saturday off, selfishly. I'm not going to lie. Let's play a late one on Sunday. So it's just missing dinner with the girls a little bit. So selfishly, I wanted to be off Saturday night, but that's okay. Hopefully the Phillies are closing out at that stupid Chase Field and those stupid Diamondback fans. And I'm pretty pretty sure they're all bots in the chat.
Yeah, and I would like to see some adjustments though in terms of Craig and Bohm in the 4th spot. I would like
there was
to see
just a comment up there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing Bohm swaps.
Those are the only things, like in terms of big decisions down the stretch of batting order and when you're, who you're bringing in out the bullpen. If I'm Rob Thompson, those are the 2 things that I'm adjusting. It's not even O'Ryan. It's Craig and it's Bohm for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe somebody will ask.
To keep an eye on one more thing, I'm sorry, Jamie, before we wrap up. Jay Flo, the Diamondbacks fan, said he's going to be back tomorrow. So looks like we've got John Blaze with the Braves and Jay Flo with the D-backs. And we've got some committed true followers that like to join our show, even though they're not Phillies fans. So, hey, come on in. Make sure you're liking and subscribing too, right?
When the Phillies win tomorrow, I don't think we're going to be seeing Jay Flo. Just a hunch.
No.
But thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Everybody in here, love y'all. Mean it, except you rat Diamondback fans who aren't even real people. You're probably porn bots from Twitter. Have a great night to everybody. Phillies will be back tomorrow. We'll have a little bit of content out during the day tomorrow. Be back for a post-game show. And all that. We got you covered here at PHLY Phillies podcast.
Phillies in 5, baby.
Jay, you can type I'm not a bot, but I don't believe you. For Renee Washington, I'm Jamie Lynch, and everybody here at PHLY. Go Phillies. We'll see you tomorrow for Game 4 of the NLCS.
We all silly like the mayor.